Alright everyone, so in this video I'm going to show you how to do these bumpy illusions. The first thing you need to do is draw it. So we're going to draw a horizontal wavy line from left to right of your paper. Remember, you don't want it too wavy, you just kind of want it to have a little bit of a wave there, not too many points or bumps. Okay, and then once you've got that, we're going to make wavy lines that are now vertical. So again, you don't want them to be too wavy, you don't want too many bumps in it, but they will be going up and down your paper. Alright, so here I've got my 4. So if you notice, I've only got enough space for partial of my paper. So I'm going to put a 5th line in here to fill up that empty space. Alright, so now that we've got all of our lines, horizontal and vertically, this horizontal line that you drew at the beginning is going to end up being the center or the middle of all of your bumps. And so now we're going to be adding what I call the stripes. So this portion here in this section, since it's angled, all of the little bumps that are above it will be angled with it. So as you can see, each one of my stripes or my lines is curved. It's got a curve to it, so it kind of looks like a bump. And so all of the bumps that are above your horizontal line point up or bend up, and all of the lines that are below your horizontal line will bend down. Okay. So once you've got that one section, you're going to do basically the same thing throughout every single section. So again, all the bumps that are above the horizontal line go up. All the bumps that are below the horizontal line go down. And just to speed up the process of this video, I went ahead and I sped up the video quite a bit. So as you can see, as I start adding in these bumpy lines, these stripes, it starts to give more of an illusion that they are actually bumpy. You can see the wideness of your section. You can kind of see it maybe pop up a little bit from your paper, but it's just the illusion of it. And that's what those bumpy lines are for. So of course, the more bumpy you have it, the more it changes direction, the more of the illusion you're going to get. And then of course, wherever your bump actually is, where you have that change in direction, will also help give that illusion of the direction that your section is bending or spinning. Alright, so now we're going to start coloring it. So I'm going to be using a yellow first since it's the lightest on the color wheel. And we've already talked about our analogous colors, which are the colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. They are similar. We're not going to be using our analogous colors for this first part. We're going to be using our complementary colors. So the complementary color to yellow is actually purple. And since purple is darker than the yellow, we're going to use our yellow first. So I'm going to take that yellow and I'm going to color in the entire one section, just the one section, not the whole paper. So what's going to end up happening is each little section is going to be a different color. Right, so and again, I sped up the video quite a bit. I do not actually color that fast. I wish I did. All right, so now we take our complementary color, and in order to add those values to give it more of an illusion, we are going to color first a thin, medium pressured line all along the edge here. So remember, it's medium pressure. You're not coloring really hard, but you're not coloring really light. You're kind of an in-between. Just enough so that way you're adding color to your paper, but not too much that it's overpowering the yellow. You're going to do it to the other side of that section as well. Same thin line. Okay, and so once we have our thin line of purple, now what we want to do is we kind of want to separate each section into 3 different sections. So we're going to pull this darkness that's along the edge of our section into the center, but we still want to have that center to appear to stay yellow. So I'm going to lightly, very lightly pull that color as I'm coloring very lightly into the center of my section. And so as you can see, even just the slightest little bit of purple added onto that yellow gives that illusion that it's three-dimensional. And of course, we're going to do the whole entire section. So as again, you are just pulling very lightly or coloring very lightly the purple over the yellow towards the center, but you're still leaving that space in the center. So like I said, think of it as 3 different sections. You'll have the two colored toned on each side of the section, so the right and the left, you'll have yellow and purple layers. And in the middle, of course, is only going to be yellow. And that's how you use the complementary color to make it look 3D. And then over here, this next section, I'm going to use green. And of course, I didn't like the green because that green was lighter than my red. So I'm going to use a darker green or darker red. I'm going to start off with my green. And again, sped up the video. I don't actually color this fast, although I wish I did. And again, try to color the entire section as best as you can. The less little white gaps that you have between your coloring, the better your overall drawing is going to look. So just make sure that you don't have a lot of white space in between each scratch. And so you can see here, I didn't like that bright red, so I used a darker, more maroonish red, which ended up didn't really blend as nicely as the yellow with the purple, but the overall effect, it still works. So again, just depending on the colors that you're using, the color pencils you're using, not markers, crayons or color pencils. Mine are actually crayon sticks. They're not color pencils completely, but they're not crayons completely either. It's like a cross in between, and it doesn't have the wood around it. So it's not quite a color pencil, but it's not as waxy as the crayons. And so you can see here that green with the red. And then now I'm going to do the orange. Fill up my entire section with orange. And as you see, if I have those little empty gaps, I kind of go back in a different direction just to fill it up. Fill up that white space. The more color you have, the brighter it is, the better it's going to look. Again, you don't have to push too hard. You shouldn't be filling it up completely. You don't want all that color to be on your paper, because what's going to happen when you add your second complementary color on top of it to make that value, it's not going to have anywhere to go. So you want to kind of make sure you're coloring with like a medium to hard pressure, not hard completely, but just enough that you can get that color filled in. And of course, the complementary color for orange is blue. And so I'm adding in that blue. And so the blue and the orange actually look really well together too. Okay, and so these last 3 sections, I'm actually going to be coloring with the analogous colors, showing you how to add the values with the analogous colors. So the analogous colors are the colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. That means that they are similar. They are either used to create each other, or you use it to create the secondary color. So I'm going to start with red, and the analogous colors of red are orange and purple. And so looking at my red here, I'm going to look at my 2 analogous colors to see which one is darker than the red, which is the purple. So we're not going to use the orange. We're going to be using purple and red. And then of course, whichever of the 2 that we're using, we're going to be coloring our first layer with the lightest color. So we're going to color with the red first. And so of course, again, same thing. Color in that whole entire section as best as you can. I'm not scribbling, I'm coloring. There's a difference. Fill in as much as you can, get it to be all nice one shade. Of course, with the pressure, if you push harder in some parts of your section, it's going to be darker. If you push lighter in other parts of your section, it'll be lighter. You kind of want to give it that one even tone of color. Okay, and just like we did with the complementary colors, we're going to create that thin line of our analogous color along the edge. Okay, and then this part's going to be a little hard because we don't have a second edge to do. It's just the edge of the paper, but it's basically the same thing. And so I started with the edge of my section and I just pulled in that purple into the center of the blue. Again, not a lot of pressure, as light as you can get it, and the more layers you add lightly, the darker it's going to get. And so here I kind of just, where I imagined that my section would be ending, I added some light values of that analogous color into my red. Okay, and now we're going to do these last two sections. I'm going to start with blue. The analogous colors are purple and green. And here I kind of wanted to get a different color tone. Ended up using my lighter blue instead of my regular blue. So that way I can use my darker green instead of a real bright green like I had. Again, coloring the whole entire section and then taking as much of that color and filling it in as possible. Taking that analogous color, creating that line along the edge. And then after we create that line, we pull the color with light pressure, very light pressure, up and into the center of our section. Remember, you don't want to cover it completely. You don't want to pull that color all the way across to where they're touching. You want some of that original first color to stay put and not get layered. And then this last one, I don't know, I chose to use these colors because they're the colors on the color wheel, and I ended up using every single one. So I've got purple, blue, orange, yellow, green, red, and I kind of just used them as I could so that way you could see the different color combinations. So of course you don't have to follow these color combinations. You don't have to do them in a specific order, just so long as you are working with practicing on the different types of combinations, the analogous colors to create value or the complementary colors to create the value. And so this one, just like the red, I'm adding just a little bit of that analogous color to the edge, and that's the finished product. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe and share. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This is actually a really fun activity for home. So see you later.